Hello, everyone. Welcome to the March 5th episode of Stacking the Box. Iain McMillan back after missing out last week. Sterling Holmes here. What's up, Sterling? Rocking the turtleneck.
Yeah, baby. Big turtleneck guy. Just a huge turtleneck guy. Hit him with a... Oh, yeah, we're back.
What was that?
We got the soundboard.
Nothing's coming up. I don't hear anything.
You hear nothing? Sean, let me know if you hear anything.
Soundboard's not working. That's tough.
You hear nothing?
Oh, go ahead. Do it again.
Knock on wood, all I hear?
No, yeah. All I hear is like you pushing the button.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It shows it's coming through.
Tough.
That is a tough situation.
You got the new setup. You're all ready to go, thinking you're going to come in hot with the soundboard, and nothing. Oh, hey, I might have heard something very quietly. Can you turn up the volume on the soundboard?
Man, I can turn it all the way up. It's going to be loud. This is loud in my ears then.
Yeah, I hear it very, very, very quietly, and it might even just be coming through your headphones into the microphone.
That is a big booty bummer. I was so excited to get my air horn back on here.
Tough start. It is a beautiful background. This is your new setup, I assume. I have not seen this setup yet, so I assume this is your new setup in your new place.
Yeah, it's a basement. Finally got some carpet laid down here to get some nice cushion to try and alleviate some of the sound concerns when you're in a unfinished basement. So got the carpet laid down. My wife threw back some, I was golfing, come back from golf. What do I have behind me? Some sound panels. Yeah, baby.
Beautiful.
Good job to my wife. Shout out her. She also put a little sound panels above my dome as well. So we're transitioning down into the basement, into the man cave for the foreseeable future for podcasts.
Perfect. And I will have 4 more episodes in my setup, and then I will be in a new setup in a new country starting in April. So looking forward to that. But let's stop chitty-chatting. Let's talk about the NFL, because that's what this show is. It is Stacking the Box. We do talk football, and as is tradition, the NFL season never truly ends because the past few days, the past week, loaded with news for us to talk about. We can start with the biggest news of the day. I think this would be the biggest news of the day. Joe Thuney traded to the Bears from the Chiefs. Obviously, this is relevant for you being a Chiefs guy. Give me your thoughts on that big trade. I think this is the biggest news of the day. No?
Yeah, I up there. A couple other ones I think we're going to get to in a second, so I don't want to say what they are, obviously, first. But this was a big one. Woke up with it. Joe Thuney heading to the Chicago Bears. Joe was a phenomenal player, and the reason why the Chiefs were able to make yet another Super Bowl this season, kicking out to left tackle. But he is the best left guard in all of football. Not just the eye test, but a lot of PFF numbers, a lot of analytical numbers will back that up as well. Dude's a beast. 32 years old, but he was on a very large contract, right? He was going to be, $27 million against the cap for the Chiefs or something along those lines this year. The Chiefs saved $16 million by releasing him. They saved $16 million by trading him. They get a 4th rounder back in return, which is a couple of ways of looking at this. If you think that this was his last year in KC and you get a 4th rounder, are you happy with that? I think the answer could be yes. But the question I have, and I'm more or less alone, I think a lot of KC fans understand why the Chiefs did this. I understand the why. I still don't like it. Because a lot of people will say, well, that's great. That's money now that's opened up so the Chiefs can go out and get a left tackle. And my question I pose to all those folks that say that, I say, okay, then whom? Ronnie Stanley, who has been perpetually injured besides this final year in a contract year. Cam Robinson, which is just Jawan Taylor. I put him on the left side. There's not a great option. I get it. I understand the thought process of everyone wanting a left tackle in Kansas City, and you needed money to go out and get said player. The Chiefs have the money now with Joe Thuney, obviously off the books, $16 million off the books. The issue is, there ain't no left tackle. So in the thought process, it made sense. I just think in actuality, I don't know what the Chiefs are going to do to make up the loss, because now not only is left tackle unknown, now left guard's a massive unknown. So for all the questions and qualms about the Chiefs' offensive line, I get it. Tackle's more important than guard. You're now left with concerns on the entire left side versus just left tackle. Don't love it. Understand it. Still don't love it. I think I'm in the minority. I think a lot of Chiefs fans actually like this move because they just assume that means the Chiefs are getting a left tackle. I just keep posing, then who? The Bears have to be excited. Great move for the Bears. You give up a 4th rounder, which that's, mid-round pick for the best left guard in football. You're assuming Joe has a couple years of all-pros left in him. Again, he is still an all-pro. I think that the question comes down to is he's going to want a new contract, and how much is he going to get paid? Is he going to get paid like the highest left guard in football? Well, it seemed like the Bears were prepared to make Trey Smith the highest right guard in football. So I don't think money is going to be a massive object for Chicago. I think both parties understand, and this makes sense for both. The Chiefs kept Trey Smith in regards to basically saying Joe or Trey. My question was, I think he could have kept both at least for one more season while there's no good left tackle option on the market.
Yeah, let's talk with the Bears side of it a little bit more. It seems like Ben Johnson is clearly trying to mimic what the Lions did for a lot of their success, which was basically just start with a beefed up offensive line and then build it out from there. Obviously, this helps Caleb Williams quite a bit. And the other move I want to say is the Bears also traded for Jonah Jackson from the Rams. So they have made two moves already to beef up their offensive line. The next move I'm kind of looking for the Bears to do, if they do kind of follow in the footsteps of the Lions, is now that they're getting an offensive line, obviously that helps Caleb Williams. But at some point, they got to pick up a running back as well if they want to kind of copy what the Lions did, because the Lions were a run-first team. They're one of the top run-first teams in the NFL last season. So if Ben Johnson is going to mimic that in Chicago, at some point they need a running back, because the guys they had in the backfield last year weren't the answer.
If only they had someone like David Montgomery.
Right. Yeah. Right.
No, I'm with you. The Bears are building the right way. I think that it's a smart move, very savvy. I still think that it's going to look back and be like, okay, maybe Caleb's ability to play or inability to play sometimes in the structure, and we'll find out this year. But to me, last year, he still played a lot of Pac-12 football. He did a lot of things that he could get away with against Oregon State. You ain't getting away with that in the NFL, right? As far as the dropbacks and trying to extend plays, sometimes you got to take your medicine. And at times last season, I think he was a big issue and a big reason why pressure turned into sacks, when I think he made the Bears offensive line look worse than it was last year. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to some other news. Surprising news came out today, at least surprising to me, unless I missed something. That was Sam Hubbard of the Bengals calling it a career, retiring at 29 years old, which is something that we're actually seeing a little bit more common in the NFL over the past handful of years. Now, I have looked to try to find a specific reason for why he retired, and I can't find one. So I don't know if there is a reason or if he just was ready to move on from the NFL. I mean, 29 is still pretty young. I know 10P Kids in the chat is a Bengals guy, so maybe he knows a little bit more. But Sam Hubbard, was it surprising to you? Am I the only one surprised?
Yeah, I was shocked. I was thoroughly shocked. I was not expecting that at all. Sam Hubbard, a very good player. Not an elite guy by any means, but he was a good player, especially for a Cincinnati Bengals team that needs good players on defense. We'll get into one of the major moves, actually, that I think we'll talk about Maxx Crosby in a second. But I think Maxx Crosby just destroys the Bengals for a multitude of reasons, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But Sam Hubbard, I think this is a big loss for Cincy. I see the knee issues, some injuries. I get all that stuff, but
I think Sam Hubbard was set to hit free agency this offseason, though. Am I wrong in saying that? I believe he was set to be a free agent anyways.
Sure, and he'd been on a slight decline. I just think that he was still a starting edge rusher in the NFL.
Oh, I agree.
Great? Yeah. No, but I think starting caliber, the answer, in my opinion at least, was yes. Now Cincy might have to fill two spots if they cannot come to a deal with Trey, which I'll get to in a moment in regards to what the Maxx Crosby deal means for Trey Hendrickson. But yeah, this was a surprise of Sam Hubbard retiring. A lot of respect for him. Fun player to watch. Easy to root for. Sam, hopefully you enjoy retirement.
10P Kid says he was awful this year. Love the guy, though. He definitely declined this past year before I think he got hurt in, was it November or early December? He got hurt for the rest of the season. He says, he was really bad. They thought about trading, but still, it is rare to see a player whose his career starts to decline and then he just immediately hangs up the cleats. Usually these guys hang around, jump, maybe from team to team if someone's looking for, a veteran guy to play defensive end. But no, I guess he had enough injuries. He saw where his career was going and just decided to hang it up at 29, which is rare, but has become a little bit more common over the past number of years. But
hey, dog, if I could have retired last year, I would have too.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. It is crazy to see guys 3 years younger than me retiring from the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to go on to do other things. I assume he's not going to be retired from everything. But pretty crazy. We're getting old, Sterling. That was kind of surprising news today. And then I guess we can transition right into the biggest news regarding the Raiders today, which is that they release Gardner Minshew, because that is
by far the biggest news. Yeah. Or former Raider Devontae Adams released by the Jets.
Right. Yeah. No, obviously it is Maxx Crosby, and actually I had him on the outline to talk about him for a different reason today. But then the extension got announced. 3-year extension, $106.5 million, $91.5 million guaranteed, highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL history.
So for the Raiders side of things, let's get into this part first. 10P kids, I'll talk about the Bengals in a moment in regards to this, and I apologize in advance. It's not me trying to take a shot at the Bengals. I just think it's going to make it very difficult for your organization. Maxx Crosby deserves this money. Maxx Crosby has been one of the best edge rushers in the entire NFL, and he plays almost every damn snap. He's not a front runner. He's a guy that wants to turn the Raiders into a front runner. I respect the hell out of Maxx Crosby. I remember we've interviewed him a couple times, and one time I joked about, just Kansas City, and he's like, hell no, man. Like, I'm a Raider. I don't want to join the champs. I want to make my team become the champs. Like, I respect the hell out of a guy that really wants to build and provide for the organization. Such an easy guy to root for, especially if he's on your team. The battle between him and Patrick Mahomes are legendary. I really like Maxx Crosby, man, and I'm glad he got paid. And I think the Raiders, to an extent, had to pay the bad team tax, right? Either that or they just wanted to take care of Max, which they did either way. 3-year deal, which means that, of course, if he wants another contract afterwards, he still should be having a lot of good football left in the tank. Happy for Max. Happy for the Raiders. Raiders are trying to do the right thing by bringing Pete Carroll in here and bring some stability to an organization that desperately needs it. Just overall, I think this was a really good move by both parties involved.
Yeah. Happy to see it. Maxx Crosby has kind of become the face of the Raiders, and now I think that has kind of solidified that with that extension today. And I do think it's kind of important for teams to have a face of the franchise, and he has kind of become that. Only 12 games this season, did battle some injuries this season. Hopefully that's not an ongoing thing, especially when you sign a guy for 91.5 guaranteed.
That dude, if they were, I'm convinced that he could have like a torn ACL, but if they had playoff potential, he's going to somehow play through it. That guy is literally a madman.
Which is a good point. If you have a franchise guy and you're out of the playoffs like the Raiders obviously were, it's better to just sit a guy than risk it getting hurt more. If you already know you're in the playoffs, why?
Dude is tough as nails.
So he played 12 games a season. If they're in the hunt for the playoffs, he probably would play more.
The reason why this is bad for the Bengals, and I'm sorry, 10P kids, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Because the Bengals have basically already said they're going to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. So what just happened? That number just got higher. Because Maxx Crosby...
Today's price is not yesterday's price.
That's my point.
Who said that? Was it Big Sean? No, who was it? Doesn't
Iain
matter.
McMillan.
Fat Joe? I don't remember.
Yeah,
sorry,
Fat
continue.
Joe. No, Fat Joe said lean back. Lean back. And a lot of other things. But... because the Bengals have perpetually not gotten a deal done with Jamar now, I thought he should have got it done last year. That money keeps going up and up and up. And now after Maxx Crosby signed, that money just became higher. You think Jamar is going to take less than Maxx Crosby? Hell no. Hell no. We know what Jamar's about. He knows, phenomenal player. He wants his money. You already have unrest with T. Higgins yet again on the franchise tag, which is a little silly. T. Higgins, are you kidding me, guy? You're going to make $53 million over 2 years when you are a bona fide wide receiver 2? Really good wide receiver 2. Top-end wide receiver 2. But you ain't Jamar. You ain't A.J. Brown. You're not the elite of the elite. Plus, you're almost always injured. Dog, that's a pretty good contract you're receiving. Don't put a cap above your Twitter account when you're upset by something. To me, that's cap. You're not taking that as, oh my gosh, look at how much money I've made in 2 years when I've not deserved that much money. And what it comes down to is now Trey Hendrickson. It's not just Jamar Chase. Now it's Trey Hendrickson. Trey wants to get paid. Trey deserves to get paid. We know he wants another contract. You're telling me he's looking at Maxx Crosby's contract and saying, yeah, well, I've been, the sack leader for 2 years in a row now? I've been the guy? He deserves a contract fairly close to Max's. And are the Bengals going to pay that? History tells us no. So if I'm a Cincy fan, I think this Maxx Crosby deal was about the worst case scenario for Jamar and Trey Hendrickson. It sucks, but I don't know if you're going to be able to keep both. And you already have the T. Higgins unrest. You're already losing players because ownership. Now, they're not going to front a lot of money up front. Joe Burrow was the first big contract pretty much given out in Bengals history. I just don't know what the Bengals are going to do to try and keep some of these guys together. You missed the playoffs last year, and I don't see this team being better than last year's team.
Are you secretly happy about that?
No, because I actually like the rivalry. I think it's fun. I know you think I'm probably kidding, but I like the rivalry. I like when teams thoroughly dislike each other, and when the Bengals and Chiefs play, you can tell they thoroughly dislike each other. We've talked about it with the guys. There's that animosity between them. It's fun. I really enjoy it. So for that reason, I almost hope the Bengals are at least decent. I want the Chiefs to beat them, of course, but I want them to at least be good when the Chiefs beat them. It makes it way more enjoyable. And I have a hard time. I have a hard time seeing what the Bengals are going to look like in a couple years if they keep on this trajectory. They should have probably traded T. Higgins. Maybe they should have traded Trey Hendrickson if you can't get a deal done. I mean, it's just tough. They released Alex Kappa, and he immediately signed with another team. Now, Alex Kappa wasn't great last year. Let's be frank here. But the point still remains. They're in a tough situation, in my opinion, going forward. We'll see. But this Maxx Crosby deal is brutal for that team.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later as well, but also the Player Association grades that came out for teams. Bengals not doing so well in those either, which is tough. But we're going to talk about that more a little bit later. Producer Sean says Eagles have 8 players with $50 million contracts. Bengals have 2 and refuse to pay anyone. So is it not a salary cap thing for the Bengals? It's just the owner just doesn't want to spend money.
Well, they're not cash rich. The Bengals ownership that's what they do. They didn't make their money really doing anything else. So when it comes to a lot of contracts, you can't change a lot of that. Like, for example, the Chiefs, they're actually pretty cheap too. The Chiefs are not an expensive team. They're very cheap. It's frustrating at times. But they still have situations where, for example, they'll most likely do it this year with Patrick Mahomes' contract. They'll turn probably $25 million of it, $30 million of it into a roster bonus or a signing bonus for the year, right? They'll do a restructure. That money has to be written out up front, okay? So what that does, same amount of money overall, but it affects the cap. So what it does is it can push kick the can down the road a little bit, but you have to have that money liquid on hand. It's not an IOU. You have to have it. And the Bengals just don't really have that opportunity. They don't have that money just to write a $30 million check and say it's in the bank, $30 million is now gone. That's basically what it comes down to. The Eagles, they're not afraid to do that, and they just keep kicking the can down the road. They just keep kicking it and kicking it and kicking it. And if you hit on draft picks and you give the money to the right guys, which the Eagles have done so far, it doesn't really hurt you. Everyone always goes and points at the Saints, for example, as of why you don't do this and why you don't kick the can down the road perpetually and all these extensions. The Saints give money to the wrong guys, and they did not draft well. There's a big difference there. The Eagles have nailed both sides, so I don't foresee this hurting them for a while. It's why I wish the Chiefs were a little bit more aggressive right now. I'm not saying you have to do what the Eagles do, but right now the Chiefs are 28th in void years at $1.84 million, while the Eagles, for example, are $390.4. Huge difference.
I kind of feel for Bengals fans because I do kind of relate a little bit to what they're going through right now, which is they lost the Super Bowl a few years ago, and every bad news thing that comes out about the Bengals, every franchise tag from on T. Higgins, Sam Hubbard retiring, Trey Hendrickson, who knows what's going to happen to him. Everything that comes out, and I bet 10P kids can agree with this. They're looking at that Super Bowl loss thinking, it makes that one hurt a little bit more because when you lose a Super Bowl, you think it's okay, we can come back next year. And then the years go on, bad things happen, guys leave teams, and then all of a sudden you look back at that loss and you're like, that was our chance. Now, the bright side with the Bengals, which I didn't have with the Falcons, is Joe Burrow is still very early in his career, and as long as he's going to be in Cincinnati, they're always going to have a chance. Whereas for Matt Ryan, that Super Bowl loss came at the back end of his career, and we had probably 2 more years of chances. And then after that, Julio Jones was washed and left and went somewhere else. Dan Quinn got fired. And then every year that things didn't go the Falcons' way, it made that Super Bowl loss hurt more because then you're realizing that the door is shutting.
The Bengals, it's just because of ownership more than likely. Most likely, in my opinion. Right. If they had a different owner, I think they could have kept a lot of these pieces and players together. Even some of the guys like, Jesse Bates and some of the other safeties that were really good back in the day. I think different ownership, you're looking at a more competitive Bengals team. But if I'm sensing how they do operate and how we know they operate, if I were them, I would consider blowing it up for a year or two. I'd keep Jamar and keep Joe Burrow, obviously, but the T. Higgins of the world, the Trey Hendricksons of the world, you're going to have to rebuild at some point. You're going to have to. And if you keep trying to hang on, you're going to have a lot of 9-8 seasons. Take your lumps, go 6-11, get a better draft pick, get some extra draft picks, and retool. And who knows, maybe that ends up being a better year. We saw it with the Broncos this year. We saw it with the Bills this year. The Bills were supposed to take a step back, and they actually took a step forward. So just because that you try and have a retool year, the Chiefs won a Super Bowl in a retooling year when they traded Tyreek Hill. Sometimes things end up getting better when you almost try and take a step back because some of the pressure is off the shoulders. Just with the way the Bengals are operating and how they traditionally operate, I think they should at least consider a retooling of that team.
Let's talk about another extension. Saquon Barkley, $106 million, 3-year extension, 91.5 guaranteed. That's Maxx Crosby. Sorry. Saquon Barkley was 2 years, 41.2. I was going to say that sounds way too much. Saquon Barkley, 2-year extension, $41.2 million. It was the talk of the season. It was a talk that we, Sterling, I know you and I spoke to a lot of players Super Bowl week about the running back market. And now there is some discussion about whether or not this contract does reset the running back market. I don't necessarily think so, but I'm interested to hear your take.
Yeah, I think Saquon is going to be the outlier, right? I think Saquon is just almost at this point far and away the best running back in football. I don't think anyone else can come close to this number. Like Josh Jacobs was great, and he's Saquon. CMC cannot stay healthy, and that's an issue. Derrick Henry's really, really good, but older and doesn't quite have the I don't want to say dynamic ability because he does on the ground, but at least pass catching wise, I think Saquon's one of one. I don't see who's a middle of the pack running back.
James Conner.
I don't see James Conner benefiting from this Saquon deal.
Right, exactly. That's exactly my opinion. For the running back market to truly reset and for them to start getting money now as a whole, they would need several running backs to have at least close to a season that Saquon had this past year. But there was none. It was Saquon, it was Derrick Henry, and then a large gap before anyone else.
Do we think, for example, like Najee Harris is going to benefit from this contract as
a
free agent? No. Is Aaron Jones going to benefit from this contract?
No. I agree with you. But there was a lot of people that were saying because Saquon got the money he deserves now, all other running backs are going to as well, and I just don't see that being the case.
Well, for example, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs does. Maybe Bijan Robinson does in a couple of years when those contracts, they come up for extension, right? Maybe the elite of the elite do. I just don't see the above average guys benefiting from this.
I agree. Zack Baun also got an extension. I didn't even see this actually. Zack Baun, so he's back with the Eagles. Is he 3-year, $51 million, 34 guaranteed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Eagles might repeat next year.
Yeah, the Eagles are. Well, we'll see. Darius Slay's an interesting one. I love Quinyon Mitchell and
yeah,
Cooper
they got
DeJean,
some.
but
yeah, they need some depth.
But
now
still,
and
we'll see what happens with Sweat and all that. But yeah, they're bringing a lot of guys back, man. The Eagles are going to be damn good.
The majority of their offense is locked in for at least, I think, another 3 years.
The Eagles are damn good.
Yeah.
But this was a big bring back because we all thought, at least I think we all assumed that Zack Baun was going to get paid somewhere else.
Yeah.
No, he got paid in Philly. Again, what's basically a 2-year deal, right? 2 years are guaranteed. Final year is, that's 51-34 guaranteed. But great for him, man. Great for him. And I talked to him on the Super Bowl, and I asked him, I said, hey, did you know you're going to be playing, off-ball linebacker? You're going to be a middle linebacker? And he said, no, they brought me in as an edge like I typically was, an outside linebacker. He transitioned and then did this. That just speaks to the athleticism, the ability, the mind of Zack Baun. For the Chiefs, Nick Bolton, I don't know how much this changes because this is a lot of money given to a linebacker who had one phenomenal year, but only one phenomenal year.
Yeah.
Now Nick Bolton's never had a year like this, but still, he's been more consistent for a longer period of time. Great for Zack Baun. He's earned this. Great for the Eagles. You keep your coverage linebacker right there, your main guy in the middle, your main cog. Great for Zack Baun. Really cool story.
Yep. Good guy, Zack Baun. Very likable. And then the other news that came out today, the NFL just says, this is why we do this show all year round, because the NFL doesn't stop. DK Metcalf requested a trade today. Not something that a lot of people probably saw coming. Not happy in Seattle, which is interesting. But Seattle is kind of a weird spot because they are just kind of stuck in the middle. They're stuck in no man's land. Probably going to stick with Geno Smith. Dude, is this a sign DK Metcalf doesn't like Geno Smith? They had a new coach last year, Mike McDonald. That didn't really change anything. They're still a borderline playoff team, but didn't get it done. And now DK Metcalf, who's pretty much in the prime of his career, is probably looking to go to a winner.
Yeah, this is tough for Seahawks fans. Tough. Not only does Pete Carroll take another job, although I think you've been reasonably okay with McDonald, but you spent all this money on Geno Smith, and you released Tyler Lockett, and then DK Metcalf wants a trade. I know you have JSN, but you're almost in this rebuild mode, but you don't have a rebuild quarterback, and you weren't good enough record-wise to get a great draft pick. I don't know what the Seahawks are doing. If they do get rid of DK, JSN is a really nice piece. But you almost have to buy into the tank because you're going 7-10. You're going 6-11. This is tough. This is tough. I don't know what the Seahawks are going to do.
And they also released Tyler Lockett, which I don't really think that's that big of a deal. Tyler Lockett had a down year. He's past his prime. He's 32. Yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba is kind of the top guy now in Seattle. Yeah,
that's just tough. That's what happens when you pay nearly premium money for a non-premium player, which is Geno. It's why I keep saying the 49ers should not pay Brock Purdy. You don't pay premium prices for a non-premium player. I don't care what position it is.
I did like Patrick Allen's tweet. Patrick Allen, we all know, obviously, co-host of Arrowhead Addict. He tweeted, I laughed at this. Chiefs offense going to be unstoppable next season with Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Luther Burden, Andre Rison, and Travis Kelce.
Andre Rison, who former Chief, played for like 7 teams in the NFL. Andre Bad Moon Rison. And I quote tweeted that and said, I think you forgot to. Devontae Adams and Christian Kirk.
Yes, correct.
That's what fans do, right? Anytime a player's released, it's he's a Chief, oh he's a Falcon, oh he's a Giant.
Yeah, especially when you cheer for a team that's like obviously a Super Bowl contender, you just assume that every player wants to come play for you.
And I always laugh because no one ever does.
Well, yeah.
Not really. Everyone always goes, I can't. My goal is to play for a winner. My goal is to play for a winner, and then they sign the largest deal possible with the Tennessee Titans. Happens every time.
But then also get traded to the Chiefs.
Past their prime.
Yeah. True. All right, let's talk. I want to talk Falcons for a second here, Sterling, if that's okay with you. We've talked about it on the show already, but we interviewed Myles Garrett and I made my pitch to him to demand a trade to the Falcons. That tweet has actually gone viral on Falcons Twitter today, which I took great joy in.
Oh,
wow. One guy, if I can quote what he said here. Hold on, I retweeted it an hour or two ago. Whoever bra is, you good in Atlanta forever. Bring out a 100-round drum behind you. # rise up. And then I responded to him, and he responded, and hopefully you can tell me what this means because I truly don't know. Let me see here. Should I have this up already?
Whoever bra is, you good in Atlanta forever. Bring out a 100-round drum behind you. Oh, he's basically saying that you are good in Atlanta?
Yes, but it was I replied to it, and then he replied to that one, and he said something that I truly do not understand. I'll find it. But the other thing,
this one is it D's the type of alley oops we need?
No, that's not it. I'm actually just going to go to his Twitter because it's going to come up here if I go to his Twitter and then go to replies. Let me know if you in a city 5 black vans full of sticks in all capital letters. Let me know if you in a city 5 black vans full of sticks. I don't know what 5 black vans full of sticks means. Should I not have said that?
I don't know, man. I don't know if you should go to Atlanta or if that means like stay away from Atlanta. I don't know. I think you're good.
I think I am welcome in Atlanta now because I tried to make my pitch to Myles Garrett. I did not tell him about my Kirk Cousins pitch.
Well, that's the thing. Did he find the Kirk Cousins one and then he's like, oh, no, I take it back. Now you better watch your ass.
Now, the other thing I want to talk about, Sterling, is the two of us were sent a DM last week. Producer Sean says sticks means guns. Okay. Okay. Maybe it means he's going to protect me with 5 vans with armored like people in them. Maybe he's going to transport me around the city with armored protection. That'd be nice. Head on a swivel. Okay, so is he anti me? Is he? I don't know. It's a mystery.
He may have found out you're Canadian. That could be it also.
That could also be an issue. Sterling, the two of us were sent a DM last week, and maybe I should have asked this guy if I had permission to read it on the show, but I'm going to assume he's giving us permission. Drew sent us this DM. He said, hey, boys, want to say first, I love Stacking the Box and keep up the great work. Thank you. I just wanted to end the debate once and for all about Sterling's comments about the Falcons players prior to the season, something that we brought up several times throughout the season. Went back and listened to the August 19th episode, Falcons Load Up, and Sterling only mentions elite when talking about Judon not being elite. Otherwise, his words were that the Falcons have good players, but he questioned how many great players they have. Brought up multiple players and said they're not great. Sorry, Sterling, you wouldn't let it go. I had to fact check because I was pretty sure Iain was on the right side. Throughout the season, you have demanded the Falcons fans apologize to you because you think this season proved that the Falcons hadn't had elite players. All season, you were saying the Falcons did not have elite players. This great man, Drew, went back and double-checked. You said the Falcons don't have any great players, which is crazy to say.
They have
you had a leg to stand on with the word elite, but the fact you were using the word great is crazy. The Falcons have at least 5 great players.
They have 3.
That's crazy.
Jesse Bates.
Okay, still you said 1 last. I think
Chris
you said
Lindstrom. You know. I said Chris Lindstrom, and I forgot Bijan. I'll give you 3. That's all you get. You get 3. Seems fair.
So what would be your definition of great? Would ranking inside the top 100 in the NFL? Are the top 100 NFL players great?
Sure.
Okay, so then it's 4 at least.
Are you gonna say Drake London?
According to PFF, they released their top 100 NFL players this past season, and Drake London was on that list.
What number was he?
31.
Wow. Okay, that's just
Drake London's way better than you think. Drake London's a borderline top 5 receiver.
No.
Well, the players you listed rank lower than. They have Jesse Bates 93, Drake London 31, Chris Lindstrom 28, which is crazy, and then Bijan 15. Producer Sean in our chat says Falcons PFF grades top 10 players. Chris Lindstrom, yeah, and then Michael Penix, but it's 3-game sample size short. I mean Algier, yeah. Kevin King, crazy. Yeah. 4 at least. You can't say Drake London's not a great. To say Drake London's not a great receiver is insane.
Fine, I'll say great.
Thank you. So 4.
He's on the cusp of greatness.
Okay.
On the cusp.
So thank you to Drew for going back and doing that research because I was not.
He's Groot.
He's great.
That's good and great combined.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up with the final topic here. I know these were released last Wednesday, but I don't believe you and Cody talked about these. The NFLPA franchise grades. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the Kansas City Chiefs, because one of the most confusing ones across media were that the Chiefs gave their owner a C-. So can you explain that as a Chiefs guy? Why is the Chiefs owner getting a C-?
Dog, he was like an F- last year, so he's improving.
Why?
Because
I would have thought. I mean, I guess I just don't know about owners, but I guess I would have thought an owner that has built a championship-winning team to be an A+ owner.
he is fairly cheap. Again, this is all relative speaking, of course, right? When I say that, fairly cheap. A big reason why is the practice facility in Kansas City. So it's not good. And he's been talking about for years how they're going to make the practice facility nicer. And not this year, but the year prior, after he said he was going to, his pushback for why they didn't was because the Chiefs won too many games, went too far, and they didn't have time. Imagine winning a Super Bowl and then your response for not making the practice facility better, the locker rooms, is because you guys were too good. That didn't sit very well with a lot of the players. I think he's a really nice guy. The Hunts, great people. I'm glad they're the owners of the Chiefs, right? It's not me trying to take a knock on them, but they've not necessarily sunk in a lot of investments on the practice facility side of things. They did for the locker rooms at Arrowhead, but you're playing 8 or 9 games a year there. You're at the practice facility a lot more. Now, part of this is to give him some sort of reprieve. They're talking about moving Arrowhead. Well, why would you sink money into a practice facility if you're eventually going to move in the next 5 to 10 years, right? I guess that's more or less what it comes down to than anything else. But they also only ask 1 or 2 questions in regards to this. And I forget what the exact question was that made it a C-. But these questions can at times be a little unfair in regards to how they view, because then it just goes, oh, all of ownership is a C-. Well, you asked 1 question. You didn't ask like 20 questions. You didn't give him a letter grade. It's just, I think sometimes these are a little overblown, but that's what it came down to, was more or less the practice facility. And again, when you're going from college to the NFL, if you're playing at Texas, you're playing at LSU, the practice facilities in college are so much nicer than the ones in the NFL. There ain't no denying that. If you came from Missouri S&T like Turk Wharton did, yeah, maybe it's not so bad. But if you're from Texas or Bama or Georgia, when you have to recruit guys to come there, no longer you're recruiting in the NFL, that facility looks a lot different.
I do have to give a shout out to my Dirty Birds who crushed this. Might have been the highest rated team, maybe. A's across the board. The only non-A was training room, which was a B. Team travel B+. But they had some Fs last year. They had a brand new locker room Arthur Blank put in. So their locker room went from an F last year to an A+ this year. Ownership A+. Head coach A+. Love to see that. That's promising. Raheem Morris, you love to see that. A+. Treatment of families A. Great organization. Seems like they're building a winning organization in Atlanta. Fact or fiction?
Winning off the field, yes.
You got to start off the field. Here's another thing that you can trash the Bengals about, because you haven't trashed the Bengals enough.
I have not trashed them. I feel
bad
bad
the Bengals
for them.
a little bit.
I feel bad for them. It's different.
Treatment of families at F-. That grade doesn't even exist. F- for treatment of families.
Ooh, yeah, not great.
I read that they are the only team that don't have game day daycare, and they don't have something else. They basically just
silly.
say screw it to your family. Like, we don't care. They don't have family like outings at all.
Yeah, and like it's like
Family
2 meals
events.
instead of 3 meals. I get so it's interesting because we're talking about multimillionaires. Like, dog, they can afford to send their kid to daycare for a day, but also the players probably don't want to be thinking about that when they're trying to get ready for a game. So I get both sides of it. Like, if you're sitting here going, well, they're multimillionaires, they can afford it. Why are they getting free daycare? I can understand. Now, if on the other side, if you're saying, Well, they shouldn't have to worry about what they're going to do with their kids when they're trying to get ready for a football game and drill people, like lay each other out. I get that too.
Well, and also, yeah, the top players are multimillionaires, but most of what's made up of teams are like not multi guys who just like can hire a nanny to look after them every day. And if they do take them to daycare somewhere, I mean, it's on a Sunday most days, and then in the morning you got to worry about getting them to daycare. It just seems like such an easy thing for teams to do, and every other team does it, and the Bengals are just like, nah.
Yeah, it seems a little silly.
F- for treatment of families, F for food and dining, A+ locker room. Gotta like that. But the treatment of families is tough because it seems like that would be a very easy fix. Did you have any other takeaways? The Jets ownership, F.
Yeah, it's not really. That's just normal.
Not good.
Woody Johnson's kids just running that thing.
Yeah, the whole Woody Johnson with his kids thing this year probably put that down to an F. Not good. Dolphins, A's pretty much across the board.
I mean, you living in Miami, can't be too bad.
Yeah, it's always interesting when those reports come out. They mean probably very little, though, at the end of the day.
I wish there were more questions, is what it comes down to. I wish we knew every single question and more questions. Because it seems like a lot of the players do vote on this, but on some of the stuff, it's only like one question, and that gives the entire grade. It can be a little misleading. I just want to throw that out there for fans because there will be some uproar, and at times I feel like we need to have some nuance.
I do want to shout out, someone sent a tweet from the Cardinals. It was a Kyler Bird at AZCard_Birdseye, BURDS. He sent out just to kind of add some context because the Cardinals locker room was ranked in F. And he just tweeted out a picture of an F locker room, which is the Cardinals, compared to an A+ locker room, which is the Falcons. And it is very different between an F locker room in the NFL and an A+. The Cardinals locker room deserves an F, to be honest. It's embarrassing. F-. Oh, I didn't even see it was F-. Yeah. He sent this tweet out on, February 26th. Yeah, F- locker room and A+, and it is like the Cardinals locker room looks like there's high school locker rooms, I'm sure, in the States that are nicer than this.
Oh, yeah. But again, it's the practice facility to me that's the big one because that's where the players are at the majority of the time.
I'd be interested in hearing a player's take on that, if that's true.
Well,
probably
the Chiefs have talked about that. That's why.
Oh, there you go. Okay. I wish I had a picture of my college football locker room. It wouldn't exist on the scale.
B.
Yeah. Right after I left, they completely tore down the athletic center and rebuilt it, and now they have nice locker rooms. But when I was there, the locker room looked like it was in the 50s. All right. I think that's pretty much the show. Do you have any final thoughts here in another news-heavy week of the NFL?
Yeah, football never ends, and this was a fun week, honestly. This was a fun show because we had a lot to talk about. Congrats to Maxx Crosby. I think the Bengals are in trouble. I think KC had to make a move, which I don't love, but I slightly understand. And the Falcons are great off the field, but I don't know if that will ever translate to on-field success. Sorry, Iain.
Falcons got an issue with their center, Drew Dahlman, who's set to be a free agent. There's reports they're going to let him walk. There's reports now that they're not going to let him walk. There's reports that they're going to let him walk because they got to save some money because the Kirk Cousins contract issue is screwing them over. And now they're kind of just building for 2026 instead of 2025 because that's when Kirk Cousins' contract is off the board. And now they're not going to spend in free agency. The Falcons offseason kind of all comes down to what they do with Drew Dahlman. So Falcons fans, keep an eye out for that. Did you watch any of the combine?
Slide. I don't care.
I also don't care. I tweeted last week. I officially don't give a shit about the NFL combine. I get it.
Language.
There's combine. My feed was filled with combine stuff. I truly don't care. I don't care how a player who's going to get drafted in the 4th round by some random team and probably never see the field. I don't care what he does in a broad jump. Am I wrong?
No, I've agreed. It seems like you care more than me.
It's gotten overblown. It's gotten we got over our skis a little bit with combine. The top guys don't even do it anymore, so who cares?
Don't watch.
I don't.
Why talk about it?
I'm forced to a little bit when it's on my Twitter feed, though.
Why talk about it? I didn't bring it up. Ooh.
I just wanted to say how much I don't care about it. That's why I brought it up. Draft is next month. That's the first thing I'll care about in terms of an NFL event.
Nothing says I don't care like talking about something that you brought up.
I care about how much I don't care about it.
Oh, okay. Love it.
All right, that's the show. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. We'll be back next week, as always, as is the same for every week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of news between now and then for us to talk about. Subscribe to Stacking the Box on YouTube. Go Falcons. We'll talk to you next week.